Hi, everybody. It's Susan, the Education Manager at the Sacramento History Museum. And this week, myself and Zoe, our Education Coordinator, are going to talk to you about how people traveled west by sea as opposed to by land. It's important to know that the people who traveled by sea tended to be more of the gold seekers, the people who were coming after 1848 when gold had already been discovered. The ones who came before, those were the ones in the covered wagons who came over land, who would bring their whole family and were moving to Oregon or California to really start a new life. But the people who came by sea in 1849 or 1850 or later, they tended to be young single men who were traveling to California because they wanted to get rich quick. They wanted to find as much gold as possible and then go back home. They didn't really have any intention of settling there. They just kind of wanted that American dream, right? To get very rich very fast. If you're traveling to find gold, you're probably leaving from one of the established ports on the east coast of the United States, like, for example, New York. So at first, you had one by sea route where you would get on a ship in New York, travel down the east coast of the United States, and then the east coast of South America, all the way down until you get to where the Atlantic and Pacific Ocean meet. It's called Cape Horn. And then you would have to travel all the way up on the west coast of South America and the west coast of North America until you finally arrived in San Francisco. And then you have another part of your journey to actually get to the gold fields. Now, this journey, as you can see, is very long. It's about 21,000 miles, but it was still probably faster than going overland. And it had its own different kind of problems with it. It would have taken between probably 4 and 12 months, really depending on when you left during the year, the kind of weather that you would encounter. And the Cape Horn Passage, where those two oceans meet, is notorious for being very dangerous. It has really bad weather, and so that could really slow you down too. But it was pretty cheap. And so if you were a single guy and you didn't have a lot of belongings, you didn't need a lot, you would just book passage on one of these ships and carry on all the way to San Francisco. Of course, if you're traveling at this time, you're really trying to get to the gold fields as fast as possible. You want to be the first one there. You want to get as much gold as possible. So the route from New York to San Francisco around Cape Horn was just too long for a lot of people. You want to be there first. So a faster route was soon figured out that led from one of the ports on the East Coast, we'll say New York, that went through this country down here. It's called Panama. It connects North America to South America, and then would continue all the way back up to San Francisco. And you can see how much shorter that trip was than having to go all the way around. It actually cut off thousands and thousands of miles, and it probably took closer to about 4 months to do that entire trip. So you're getting there a lot faster than the other people that were going around Cape Horn. But there's a lot of problems with this because you take a ship, you get to Panama, and then you have to get off your ship. Your ship can't go through an entire country. The Panama Canal that is there today didn't exist back then. So you have to get off, walk across this country that comes with all sorts of problems of its own because there's different sicknesses down there, there's different animals down there, and then when you get to the other side of the country, you have to hope that there's a ship on the other side to pick you up. And there wasn't always a ship here to bring you the rest of the way. Some people actually kind of ended up stranded on the west side of Panama for weeks, maybe even months at a time, waiting for a ship to have room for them to get on board and go the rest of the way. Like I said, the route through Panama came with its own set of problems. And one of our favorite things, myself and Zoe's, that is in the museum is actually an artifact found by somebody who went on the Panama route, and I believe it was 1851. And they traveled through Panama and they had to walk across it, and they came across this. This is actually on display in the museum. Of course, we can't go to it right now, but next time you come to the museum, see if you can find it. And it's a grasshopper, right? It's a bug, but it's actually about 4 or 5 inches long, which is significantly longer than any grasshopper we would have around here, which is probably closer to 1 inch or maybe even two if it's really big. And this person was clearly so surprised or confused by this animal that they kept it with them, put it in this jar in some sort of preservation material, and we still have it to this day. So it's kind of a cool testament to the people's journeys that they were taking to get to find gold. Now that we know the routes that people could take to get to California by sea, let's look at some of the vessels that they would have actually taken. Now, I love this diagram because it really shows off how big ships have gotten. So at the very top here is what would have been more similar to what people were taking in the 1850s to get to California, to go all the way around South America through Cape Horn. And then, of course, underneath it, we've got the Titanic. Just even from that jump, that's in 1912. Look how much bigger that is. And then we have a modern day cruise ship, which is it's like comical how small the ships were compared to how they are today, and just kind of the difference in travel and style and what these people had to go through. So here's more of a view of what a passenger ship at the time would have looked like. There's not a whole lot of room. You can see, this is the top view here. This is what would have been, right on the top of the ship if you were to walk around. Not a ton of room, even for a 6-month passage or 4-month passage. You don't have a lot of things to go and explore. And then this is kind of a side view. So it shows you where all the storage is. And then, of course, where people would have slept. And what you're seeing here is hammocks. And we're going to show you, or Zoe's going to show you actually, what one of these hammocks would have looked like. Because I think we think, oh, hammocks, I love hammocks, so relaxing. This is going to be really nice to stay in. But let's take a look at what these hammocks actually were.
Everyone, this is Zoe from the Sacramento History Museum. Today we're going to talk about travel by sea. Last week we talked about traveling by wagon, and on that trail you're basically camping out next to the wagon. But if you travel by sea, where are you going to be sleeping? So what we have here is a hammock. This is where you would be staying for your journey. It's about 7 feet long by 5 feet wide. Seems very roomy and comfy if you're sleeping by yourself. However, most of the time you'd have at least one other person with you, but a lot of times it'd be about 3 to 4 people inside this hammock. Now, depending on the route that you take, either the Cape Horn or through the Panama, the journey can vary about 4 to 9 months. So you'd be staying with these people for that whole duration of the trip. This is what you're going to take with you, and this is going to have all your possessions in it for your entire journey. So, one of the first things that we want to have is our ticket. This will get you onto the ship. Very important to be on your ship. Next would be money. Money would be really important because you need to, purchase your ticket for the ship, but also during the journey, if there's any stops, or if, like, you take the Panama route, you might have to purchase more goods or even purchase a ticket once you reach the Panama side or the Pacific side to go up to San Francisco. Once you arrive in San Francisco and in Sacramento, you'll need to purchase all of your mining goods. You'll find that you won't bring them with you. You'd purchase them once you get there. Next thing, a hat. A good wide brim hat like this, it really protects your whole face from the sun. And very important to protect yourself from the sun, especially on a ship. You're going to be out there a long time, so you want to make sure you're protected, especially because we don't really have sunscreen during this time. Next items are different clothing. You definitely want to bring some clothes with you, maybe a jacket, scarf, different items, because once you get to Sacramento in California, you're going to be staying there for a while, depending on how successful you are at mining. Next items, we have some pickles and hardtack. We already talked about hardtack with the head west journey and how important it is. Pickles would also be very important to bring with you. Now, on the ship, food is provided, but you're only going to have maybe 1 to 2 meals each day, so it might be good to have some extra food, and bringing vegetables or fruit with you would be very important as well. Vitamin C deficiencies were a big problem while on the ship, so bringing some extra fruit with you and vegetables would be really important too. Next item, we have a letter here. Now, letters, you might have some letters from your family before you left, and this would be really important to keep with you so you could read them and kind of, think about your family. But also if you brought paper and pencils with you so you could write to them, and you'll mail those once you get to San Francisco. But also if you're an artist, you could draw out what you're seeing. So remember, you're going to Panama, you're passing through different places, maybe you're going the Cape Horn route. Maybe you want to describe to them what you're seeing. You can describe your journey, you can draw pictures so they can see what you're seeing. Because we don't have phones just to take a picture, so you have to do it either by writing a description or by drawing a picture for them. Another item that might be really important is a book. Different people around your hammock, other people on the journey. If you're good at cards, you might be able to make some money too playing it. Same with the dice. Really good for different games. So now we kind of look through here. Some other items that might be important to take with you. Maybe like a sewing kit. If you need to repair something, it'd be really useful to have. Maybe some medicine. Just bring that with you just in case you get sick. Different items. What would you pack with you for this long journey? Think about that.
Okay, everybody. Well, thanks for tuning in here. I hope you learned a lot about ship travel and heading west in general, how people got out to California for the gold rush. Stay tuned for next week, where we're going to talk about the California gold rush, all the people involved, and kind of what life was like for the people who came during that time, and how it changed Sacramento and California forever. So hopefully we see you very soon. Thanks. Bye.